Your VO2 max value is the maximum volume of oxygen that your body can take in, transport and utilise in 1 minute. The reason this is such an important value to know is because it encompasses everything that is endurance athletes, everything that is endurance performance. So it refers to taking in oxygen, so that's talking about your respiratory system, how much oxygen you can actually take in your lungs. Transport is talking about your cardiovascular system, how much blood can you circulate with oxygen attached to it, how much blood can you actually get to your muscles to fuel aerobic performance. And then we're talking about utilisation. It's no good circulating a lot of oxygen if your muscles just can't use it. So you need to have a good VO2 max value so you can have, so it refers to everything, your respiratory, your cardiovascular and your muscular adaptations to endurance performance. There's no one element of endurance performance. It encompasses all three things. So you may do some training where you work on just your circulation. It could be, you could be doing hard anaerobic work to try and increase the strength of your heart, but also you could be doing long, slow endurance stuff in your endurance zone to build your mitochondria and your capillarization, so you can actually utilise that oxygen that's being circulated. So by performing a VO2 max test, we get an indication of how well your three systems, your cardiovascular, your respiratory and your muscular system, work together to produce aerobic energy. So it's an overall fitness component which gives us clues as to how we can improve your performance through maybe pinpointing one or two key areas rather than all three. You might have very good respiratory system, but you're struggling to circulate that oxygen because you just can't get enough blood around the body. So it's a good test to determine your level of fitness, your level of aerobic fitness, and from that we can get clues on how we can prescribe exercise to improve your endurance performance. So one of the more important pieces of information that our athletes receive after completing a VO2 max test at Mets Performance is they get to receive their heart rate and power or pace training zones. So for example, Simon completed his test today on the bike, so he will receive his heart rate and power training zones. And the zones that we prescribe are the active recovery zone, the endurance zone, threshold zone, VO2 max zone and anaerobic zone. So just to give you a bit of an idea of what each of these zones do, the active recovery zone is the zone in which you don't expect to get any cardiovascular adaptations, but you're just trying to speed up the recovery process by flushing out the legs and removing any metabolic byproducts which may still be in your legs from a hard session. The endurance zone is the zone in which most of your aerobic adaptations occur from low intensity exercise. So this endurance zone, the idea of this is to exercise in the absence of metabolic or fatiguing metabolic byproducts such as lactic acid. So we prescribe zones based on your specific metabolic data, which get the zone in terms of it's not producing that lactic acid which causes the fatigue, and this is a really good environment for the key cardiovascular adaptations such as increasing the volume of your heart, so you can pump out more blood, increasing capillarization, so you can actually circulate more blood to your muscles, as well as the key one, which is increasing the number, size and surface area of mitochondria, which is the organelle inside your muscles which are responsible for aerobic energy production. Then we have our threshold zone. There's an aerobic threshold and anaerobic threshold. So the start is your aerobic threshold, which is also sometimes termed as the tempo. And this is the point at which you are producing lactate slightly above your resting values. So it's that comfortably hard pace that you might hold for maybe an Ironman or a half Ironman distance. After that we have the top end threshold, which is also known as your anaerobic threshold, your maximal lactate steady state, your functional threshold power. It is the maximum intensity that you can hold for 45 to 60 minutes, and any small increases of intensity above this will cause quick and significant fatigue. After that you have your VO2 max zone, which is just above your maximal lactate steady state, when you are producing the maximum amount of oxygen that your body can take in, transport and utilise, which is a very good zone to use to improve your VO2 max and to increase your fitness quickly. After that, we have the anaerobic zone, which is used for short bursts of intensity, such as 30 seconds on, 30 seconds off. Really popular with high-end elite endurance athletes who don't get a lot of benefit out of doing the long, slow stuff anymore, and they need to work the anaerobic energy pathways to take their fitness to the next level. People should book a VO2 max appointment with Met's Performance Consulting for one very easy reason, because everybody is different. The majority of exercise professionals and coaches prescribe a percentage of functional threshold or a percentage of maximum heart rate to determine their training zones. Here at Met's Performance, we use your individualised metabolic data to pinpoint exactly where your threshold zones and your training zones should be. For example, I've had athletes who are able to hold a heart rate of 190 beats per minute, which in theory is about 98% of their maximum heart rate. But then I've also had other athletes who might only be able to hold 175 beats per minute, which might only be 85% of their maximum heart rate. If they were going by the way that most people prescribe exercise intensity as a percentage of maximum, whether that be heart rate or threshold power, it's really not pinpointing the thresholds and the zones that you really want to be going at. As I mentioned before, the endurance zone is a very important zone because it's that maximum intensity that you can work at without actually producing lactate and lactic acid and fatiguing metabolic byproducts above that of resting state. So I had Simon Hearn. He was producing his end of his endurance zone was at about 160 beats per minute, whereas his partner Hannah, she was able to hold at 175 beats per minute just because that's what her physiology said she could do. That's what the data showed. Everybody's different. You can't just produce the same training programs and the same zones for the same people because everybody's different. People react differently to exercise. We pinpoint exactly where your zones are so you can then train and race optimally. Once you've completed your VO2 max test, you've got a couple of options. Firstly, if you've already got a coach, then fantastic. Take them the data and they should be able to put that into your training program and improve your training program and modify your training program to make it suit you better and to individualise it specifically to you. If you don't have a coach, then I myself offer cycling, triathlon and running coaching, so please get in contact with me if you'd like more information about that. Myself, I'm an accredited exercise scientist as well as a level 1 triathlon coach, so I do know what I'm talking about. If you don't want the ongoing costs of a coach, I do offer performance and nutritional consultations. These are aimed to be easy to understand, and it's a 45-minute consultation which takes you through how to build a training program, all the adaptations that occur at different exercise intensities and in the different zones. It basically takes you through all the basics you need to know to build your own training program and to improve your performance from wherever you are at the moment.